Hey guys, welcome to fourth grade math night. I want to say that I really appreciate everything that you guys have done this year for fourth grade and our students. You guys have been awesome to work with as partners with your child, and I know that this is a different year. It has had many challenges. So thank you for sticking in with it. Thank you for supporting us and supporting your child, and thank you for attending this math night. So I do want to go. So this is Miss Keller, one of the fourth grade teachers. I would like to go through some math things that will be important for you guys to know for fourth grade for the remainder of the year. All right, so we are encouraging students to use these practices when they are solving math problems. So if you look at these are just some different strategies that we use. Um, we expect them to make sense of their problems and persevere. We really talk with the students about that word persevere and what that means. And a lot of times, math is challenging. Not that it's a bad challenge. A lot of times, the kids enjoy the challenges that math presents. And so we talk about how we just persevere. That not everything in math will be easy. And the more we do math, the better we will get. Just like with a sport, the more we practice, the better we'll get. So we do tell them to reason abstractly and quantitatively, and just think about what makes sense. We do have them talk with each other, with a partner, with a group, and instead of just the teacher always talking about math, we do have them talk and make their argument. We do always want them to model what they're doing with a picture or some kind of visual, because if they can show that, that tells us that they not only can do it, but that they understand it. We also want them to use tools that they can use. For instance, if they could use a calculator, to know to use the calculator. If they need a ruler, to know to use the ruler. If they could use the clock, we talk about how that is another tool that they can use. Attend to precision, which is number 6, is the check your work. That is the step that a lot of students seem to miss. Like they just don't take the time to check their work. And if they were to go back and check their work, a lot of times they would find that careless mistake that they made. And I like to tell them to go through, especially if they're doing a test, to go all the way through and then go back to check their work. Because their mind will be fresh and not on the same problem. A lot of times it's hard to see our mistakes when we just have done the one problem. So I like to tell them to go back and then check their work. 7 is look for and make use of structure. So to look for those patterns, a lot of times if they start to notice patterns, then they start to have that understanding of how the concept is working, like multiplication or division. And then 8 is look for and express regularity and repeated reasoning. So that is also where they're seeing a connection with other things, like where there's a connection with multiplication and division. So those are just some practices that we use every day in class. All right, we do use the cube strategy. There's lots of different strategies that you can find, like if you search on Google, like for word problems. So this is a strategy that students can use when they have a word problem to tackle. So cubes is just an acronym, and so C would be for circle key numbers and units. And we do talk about how that sometimes can be tricky, that they may not use all of the numbers. Underline the question is what U stands for. B stands for box math action words. E is evaluate and eliminate. So they evaluate the question, the answer choices, and then they can eliminate ones that they know are not it, that they can rule out. And then show your work and then check your work is the S. And if you look at the students' notes, they should have the strategy in their notes. And so my students, especially, and I'm sure Miss Henderson, Miss Richardson students have as well, we've added some other things to each of these steps for them to make sure that they're paying attention to, because word problems are often tricky. And I have noticed with my fourth graders that they always get like the first step, but if there's a second step in the word problem, they tend to miss that. Okay, and so we do have another NC check-in. So we will be doing our third NC check-in at the end of March, and that will be for math and ELA, which is our reading. So they have one more benchmark, and then they will have an EOG. Okay, so our EOG, which is our end of grade test at the end of the year, this is a breakdown of the different concepts in math and how much questions, a percentage of how many questions per domain. So you've got operations and algebraic thinking, that's 14 to 18% of the test. Number and operations at base 10 is 25 to 29% of the test. Number and operations fractions, which is 30 to 34%, which is the highest. So that means there are going to be more questions with fractions than any other type of question on the EOG. And then you've got your measurement and data and geometry at 23 and 27%. So two of them are about equal in how many questions. Your fractions are going to have the most questions, and the operations and algebraic thinking are going to be the lowest amount of questions. But here is a breakdown of what they will be facing on the EOG and a percentage of how many of the questions. So fractions is the highest, and that is also true for 5th grade. Okay, HMH, the students do a math growth measure. So they have already completed the math growth measure for the mid-year, which was in January. So they will be taking another math growth measure at the end of the year or towards the end of the year to see where they are at that point. And this allows us as teachers to see what the students need to work on based on what they are showing in HMH. So it gives kids questions depending on how they do with certain questions. So each student is getting something that's tailored to how they are doing and progressing. Okay, so our 3rd quarter math focus is basically fractions and decimals. That is mainly the focus for 3rd quarter. They will learn, so we've already learned equivalent fractions, and we've talked about improper fractions and mixed numbers and ordering fractions. We will be going to adding and subtracting fractions and multiplying a fraction by a whole number. So not a fraction by a fraction, but we will multiply a fraction by a whole number. They will extend that in 5th grade to do a fraction by a fraction. And then we will also learn equivalent fractions and decimals, and we will learn how to order and compare decimals in tenths and hundredths. And to do that, we will use visual models, and we have just started working with that within the last week. So we will go back to fractions and adding and subtracting those. All right, here are some helpful websites that your child may find helpful for 3rd quarter. So there are some Khan Academy videos on here for equivalent comparing fractions and adding and subtracting fractions, and then the IXL for multiplying fractions by a whole number and then comparing decimals. So you could use those as some helpful websites. Our 4th quarter math focus will be mainly geometry and then metric measurement. So for geometry, students will learn about types of angles, types of lines, polygons, symmetry, and angle measurement with a protractor. They will be using a protractor. And then students will learn about converting measurements within the metric system. So that is your meters and centimeters, liter, milliliters, kilogram, and grams. All right, so here will be some helpful websites for 4th quarter on that geometry and the measurement. There again, there's some Khan Academy on here. Khan Academy is a very useful website for all kinds of math concepts. There's just learning videos, tutorial videos, practice. So that is good. Khan Academy is good for anything that your child would like to have more help with or just review on. Okay, we will have Slammer in May. So this is where we get together and we review math and reading topics that we have learned throughout the entire school year, so that we refresh their memory on maybe what we did in August and September, because it will seem like it has been centuries ago. And when we do Slammer, we like to make it fun, and we like to put in some games and just some free time of competitions, and we like to make it fun. So if you guys would be willing to donate maybe some things we could give as prizes, candy, snacks, drinks, whatever you think that the kids would like to get as a prize, we would really love that because we will have them competing against each other and we will have them play games. And we would like to just reward the winners with some kind of prizes. And so we might have some specific things that we will need. And if we do, we will send that out closer to May. But if you would like to send in just some prizes, candy, snacks, we could use that really for anything and not just Slammer. All right, so Google Meets, we will continue having our Google Meets throughout the school year on our remote days on Wednesdays, or if we happen to be out on remote like we are at this current time. So the main thing is that students need to be joining and being on the entire meet. That is the real important thing because our Google Meets, we're not just reviewing things that we've already done. We are teaching new content on these Google Meets. So if your child misses the Google Meets, that will significantly get them behind, and they'll just be trying to play catch up. So please make sure that they are attending. And you can look on Class Dojo for each one of us teachers to put when our Google Meets are and the codes that you need to use for those. Missing work, here again, it's really, really important for your child to turn in their work so that they are successful. They are getting the content that we're teaching, and we see that. We know if they're understanding or not understanding. It's really not just for grades. It's for us to know, are they getting it? Do they need more help with it? Do they need another activity to do to help them get it? So missing work, if they can just stay caught up, that will help us know if they are getting the content. All right, guys, thank you so much. If you do have questions about math or anything in general with school or with class or with your child, please feel free to reach out to myself, Miss Keller, or Miss Henderson, or Miss Richardson. We really do appreciate you guys, and we want to thank you for attending Math Night and for everything that you have done this year to support your child.